Hello, welcome back to our subject, contemporary work, and we are still in chapter 1 titled Defining Globalization. And we are done with the introduction, the task of defining globalization, metaphors of globalization, solid and liquid, flows. And now we are targeting to finish these two topics, which are the globalization theories and dynamics of local and global culture. Okay, let's start with the globalization theories. So we have established the many definitions and issues in defining globalization and the metaphors that we can use to understand easily the concept. So this topic, the globalization theories, will give you a glimpse of the important theories on globalization. Okay, let's start. Let's start with homogeneity. So it refers to the increasing sameness in the world as cultural inputs, economic factors, and political orientations of societies expand to create common practices, same economies, and similar forms of government. This means that a given culture influence the given culture influences other cultures. And the best example of this is the dominant religion in our country, which is the Philippines, is dominant religion, Christianity, or being a Christian. So Christianity, which was brought to us by the Spaniards, again or in short, ang homogeneity means that a given culture influences other cultures. In our example is Christianity, which was brought to us by the Spaniards. And mao na siya ang atoang example sa homogeneity. Next, the global flow of media is often characterized as a media imperialism. So what is media imperialism? Imperialism. So what is media imperialism? So media imperialism, it is the existence of alternative global media originating from not Western, but originating na siya sa mga developing countries. And also, the internet can be seen as an arena for alternative media. Therefore, ang cultural imperialism, di ba? Cultural imperialism also denies the agency of viewers, but people around the world often interpret the same medium. Example, ang movie in significantly different ways. So therefore, cultural imperialism, mo po na siya ang the process of social influence by which a nation imposes on other countries its set of beliefs, values, knowledge, and the behavioral norms as well as its overall style of life, and that's the cultural imperialism. Okay, again, ang media imperialism, mo na siya ang existence of alternative global media originating from the developing countries. Next. Global media are dominated by a small number of large corporations, as Mark Chesney, year 1999, put it. This is being extended from old media to new media, page 11, such as the Microsoft, Facebook, Twitter, Google, and Apple's iTunes. So as a result of this, in the long run, the internet could end up being less diverse and, of course, competitive. Next, the Independent Media Center, or the IMC, associated with the alter globalization movement, and it helps to counter this trend. And also, it disseminates information to facilitate a global participation of activists. Next, the the hacktivist and extended activism to the internet by hacking into computer programs to promote a particular cause. And that's according to juries year 2005. And in addition, ang hacktivists are groups of criminals who unite to carry out cyber attacks in support of political causes. In short, ang kaning mga hacktivist mo ni sila ang mga manghack og mga applications. Okay? Okay. I hope nga it is clear to you. Next, according to Ritzer year 2008, he claimed that in general, ang contemporary world is undergoing the process of Mcdonaldization. So, what is Mcdonaldization? So, ang Mcdonaldization, it involves the global spread of rational systems such as efficiency, calculability, predictability, and control. So, ang Mcdonaldization is a process by which ang mga Western societies are dominated by the principles of fast food restaurants. And also, according to Ritzer, year 2008, he pointed out that this process daw is extended to other business sectors and the geographical areas. And also, it is the process by ang kaning Mcdonaldization ha, it is a process by which the principles of fast food restaurants are coming to dominate more of the world. And that is the Mcdonaldization. Next, we have the globalization in contrast to glocalization. So globalization is a process wherein nations, corporations, and etc. impose themselves on geographic areas in order to gain profits, power, and so on. And also, ang kaning glocalization, again, ang glocalization, mana siya ang, it means the creation of products or services for the global market by adapting them to local culture. Muna siya ang glocal, from the word local. And also, ang glocalization, it is a big investment, but it will pay great dividends. And it will give the companies a wider access to a bigger target market in different cultures. And later, atong i-discuss ang glocalization. But now, mag-focus sa globalization, not gloca. Okay? Again, globalization and glocalization. So, what is globalization? We all know that globalization, in contrast to glocalization, muna siya gibalik sa slide, is a process wherein nations, corporations, etc. impose themselves on geographic areas in order to gain profits, power, and so on. So, ang globalization, muna siya ang growth from the word grow. So, muna siya ang globalization kay na siya growth. Okay? So, globalization is growth imperatives of organization and nations to expand globally and to impose themselves on the local. And dala na dayon mo gawa si glocalization. So in other words, see, globalization is both a specific and an extreme form of globalization. Okay? And see, glocalization means the creation of products or services for the global market by adapting them to local cultures. Okay? Mana siya ha? Next, heterogeneity. So, ang gaina, homogeneity, karon heterogeneity. So, heterogeneity pertains to the creation of various cultural practices, new economies, and political groups because of the interaction of elements from different societies in the world. And that is heterogeneity. And heterogeneity refers to the differences because of either lasting differences or of the hybrids of combinations of cultures that can be produced through the different transplanatory process. So contrary to cultural imperialism, ang heterogeneity daw in culture is associated with cultural hybridization. And more concept of globalization is coined by Roland Robertson. Later ato siya ma-discuss. Okay? In year 1999. So now we are going to define what is glocalization. So what is glocalization? According to Roland Robertson, or something like that, 1992, for him, as a global forces interact with local factors or a specific geographic area, the glocal is being produced, and economic issues are not exempted from heterogeneity. So, ang globalization is a combination of words, globalization and localization. That is why natay na-create ng word nga glocalization. Kay combination na siya of the words globalization and localization. While ang globalization, it is a combination of growth and globalization. That is why we have a word globalization. Okay, let's focus in glocalization. Again, glocalization is a combination of words, globalization and localization. So the term is used to describe a product or service that is developed and distributed globally, but it is also adjusted to accommodate the user or the consumer in a local market. And according to Ronald Robertson, di ba, isa siya sa mga naghatag og theories about this. So the commodification of cultures in local markets are examples of differentiation happening in many economies around the world. And the same goes with the political institution. And ang kaning political institution, mana siya ang political institutions are the organizations in government that create, enforce, and to apply laws. Although, homogeneity and heterogeneity, it gives us an idea about the effects of globalization. And that is the globalization theories. And now let's proceed with the dynamics of local and global culture. So global flow of culture tend to move more easily around the globe than ever before, especially through non-material digital forms. So there are three perspectives of global culture or of global cultural flows, and these are the cultural cultural differentialism, hybridization, and the convergence. So let's start with the first perspective of global cultural flows, which is the cultural differentialism. So the cultural diversity is a form of cultural differentialism. And each country has its own language, own values, norms, symbols, and many more. So cultural differentialism, it emphasizes the fact that cultures are essentially different and are only superficially affected by the global flows. And the process of globalization has involved the spread of religion, which has impacted civilization for the past 2,000 years. And the interaction of cultures is deemed to contain the potential for catastrophic collision. And it also involves barriers that prevents flows that serve to make alike, and culture tend to remain stubbornly different from one another. And also, cultural differentialism has been critiqued for a number of reasons, especially on its portrayal of Muslims as being prone to violence. And that's according to Huntington year 1996. Muna siya ang spelling sa iyang Huntington. Huntington in year 1996. Again, ang cultural differentialism daw has been critiqued for a number of reasons, especially in the portrayal of Muslims as being prone to violence. And that's according to Huntington here, 1996. And that's not according to Sir GOTEM. Okay, next we have the cultural hybridization. So it emphasizes the integration of local and global cultures, and that's according to Vetskovec and Kill near year 1997. So a key concept is glocalization, or the interpretation of the global and local, resulting in unique outcomes in different geographic areas. And globalization is considered to be a creative process which gives rise to hybrid entities that are not reducible to either the global or local. And creolization, ano na ba tayong term? Creolization. Creolization, which is the combination of languages and cultures that were formerly unknown to each other. So while hybridization are extreme flows interacting with internal flows, producing a unique cultural hybrids. Ang creolization ha, mo na siya ang combination of languages and culture nga kamuduha wala mo kabalo sa iyang kakabalo sa iyang culture, apod siya kabalo sa imong culture, and that is why naka-create mo og unknown nga language or cultures to each other, and that is creolization. Next, another K is Arjun Appadurai's scapes in 1996. Daghan siya yung mga scapes. So let's start with the ethnoscapes. So ethnoscapes, which are movements, real or image of mobile groups and individual. And that is the ethnoscapes. So ethnoscapes man siya ang uh, the global flows involves the people, the technology, finance, the political images, and media, and that these junctures between them which lead to the creation of cultural hybrids. Next, we have the technoscape, which are fluid global configurations of technology and the wide range of material that moves freely and quickly, and the internet space around the world. Like for example, the guest workers or the tourists, mana siya. Next, uh, I mean, the example of technoscape mo na siya ang mga files, mga mails, or the information on websites. And the example of ethnoscapes are the guest workers of the tourist. Mo na siya ang ethnoscapes. Amo na ang example sa ethnoscapes. Next, we have the finances scapes, which are high speed high speed national movements of funding around the world. Like for example, the rapid pace at which the global recession of 2008 spread around the world. Mana siya. Next, we have the mediascapes, which contain informations and images capable of global technological transmission. Like, for example, the online blogs, independent films, newspaper, or even the magazines. Next, we have the ideoscapes, which are flows or images primarily political in nature. Like, for example, matong state-sponsored or rebel-sponsored information seeking political sway in a certain area of the world. And that is a ideoscapes. Next, we have the last perspective on global cultural in globalization. Cultural convergence. It stresses homogeneity introduced by globalization. Cultures are deemed to be radically altered by strong flows, while cultural imperialism happens when one culture imposes itself on and tends to destroy at least parts of another culture. So cultures are subject to many of the same global flows and become increasingly more alike. And one important critic of cultural imperialism is John Tomlinson's idea of the, the territorialization of culture. So ang ano daw? Ang deterritorialization means that it is much more difficult to tie culture to a specific geographic point of origin. And that's according to John Tomlinson's and the idea of the territorialization of culture. And that's the end of our discussion on globalization theories and dynamics of local and global culture. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you learned a lot from this video. If naglibog pa mo, you can watch again this video. Again, thank you and keep safe and God bless us all.